Welcome back, guys. This is like we're finishing what would normally be the first week of chapter 8. So we'll actually finish chapter 8 next week. We will start chapter 9 the week before Thanksgiving, which is the week after next. And then we'll go on Thanksgiving. We'll come back and we'll finish chapter 9, start 10, and then like go into midterms week. But anyway, this is not for e-learners, but you guys might be hearing that we're going to try to get y'all all on Teams pretty soon. Some of you already did the assignment, which is awesome.
Wait,
don't spoil it for other kids, because we need to make sure that y'all actually know how to navigate. It's like a really, really quick, easy thing. But we just need to, so anyway, if you're confused about it, it's because you haven't heard about it yet probably. And your homeroom teacher is going to help you with it today. So don't worry about it. I don't really know why.
This is gonna be
What?
Is it the Pringles? You got it from a lot of different.
Yeah, I don't know why I'm talking about this, because this is a homeroom thing, but every single class is going to give you guys, stop talking. Every single class is going to give you one tiny little assignment to do. And it's like not an actual assignment. It's just something that like shows the teachers that y'all know how to use Microsoft Teams. Because y'all need to know Microsoft Teams, whether we have e-learning days, which who knows that like we have a plenty of snow days before we'll have an e-learning day. Or if like, I don't know, if like cases spike a lot in January or something and we have to like go dark for a couple weeks, meaning like we don't come into the building. But also in addition to that, it's good for like if you're sick or if you miss school, because like we're always uploading to that. And so it's hard for teachers to help students who like miss days when we're already always putting the entire class on there. Danny? So yeah, they might not all be like assigned yet or whatever. I think they're like not gonna be due till Thursday. Yeah, they're not gonna be due till Thursday. So some teachers maybe haven't made them yet. All right. Anyway, that's kind of off topic. Maddie, you nailed it, right? I think I saw you actually did it right. So some e-learning. I think so. I think some e-learning kids, if you're hearing this, you don't need to do this. We know y'all know how to use it, or you're like just now figuring out how to use Microsoft Teams a little late. But anyway, all right, so we're going to talk about a Cicero passage today. And if you're wondering who Cicero is, I am going to explain that a little bit as I remember how to teach. And then we're going to do more spot translating on Wednesday. We'll play Jeopardy on Thursday. I'm calling it Curtamen, the Latin word for contest. And then we will take a vocabulary quiz on this stuff on Friday, as well as have some history. So there is no homework this week. Instead of homework, we have a kind of ongoing in-class assignment, and that is this vocab refresher sheet. I've passed this out before. And e-learning kids, I don't have my USB drive, so I don't think it's in the Teams page for today, unfortunately. But like, you don't need it. Anybody can make this. And just like Macy just asked, if you have a journal, if you did take my advice and get some kind of journal, like marble bound notebook or something, you don't need to use this per se. But I'm going to be picking this up on Friday for a grade. So that is your homework grade for the week. E-learner kids, you're exempt, but I strongly encourage you to do this too. I just need you guys to, as we go through the week, since we're just spot translating and not doing a home assignment this week, every word that we run into where you're like, oh, I don't totally know this word. I'm going to swallow something that was like, I got like a particle for my mask. Like, okay, it's fine. And just write that word down. And so I'm going to have a lot of dictionary entries on the slides this week. And so if you're like, oh, I didn't know that no stare meant hour, you're going to write that out, and it's going to help, hopefully. I will give these back to you. I'm just going to pick them up just real quick to give you a grade for it. You need to have at least 15 words on it by Friday, but 15. But don't force yourself. Don't just start like writing all the words. I'll probably be able to tell if you're doing that in class, if you're just like sitting there like writing every word in the sentence that comes up. Because I'll just like see that you're like furiously scribbling and you're just like trying to get it done so that you can just like, I guess, zone out or something. But A, that'll make the next 2 days, which is just spot translating, more boring. And B, I want y'all to actually use this purposefully. So unless you are a vocabulary master, which like maybe a couple, if a couple of you guys are short of 15, but I go look into the Power School grade book and like see that you've always done really good on your vocab quiz, then I'll probably let it slide. But for most of us, I think between today and I'll have you use it on Jeopardy too. Wednesday or Thursday because it's Tuesday. Weird. You'll run into roughly 15 words that you don't totally know. So try to be honest. Don't just write random words, and you're always going to take that out every day. So if you don't have one on your desk right now, that's weird. Make sure that is out along with this packet. So I gave you a big old packet. That's what we're going to be spot translating from today and tomorrow. And these are the vocab words we're going to do on Friday. I think you guys will be like really used to these words by Friday, and you'll probably do really great because we introduced them. I guess it was last Monday. Yeah. Last week was weird. 3-day week, you know.
No, 2-day week.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, it was a snow day. I think that's why. Okay. 2-day week. Now we have a 4-day. So it's almost like you put them together. It's kind of like a long, weird week with the big old. Yeah, it is fall breaky. Yeah, the fact that y'all the snow day makes it feel like an actual break, kind of. That was disrupted by 2 days of class. But those are like spirit days. And y'all had a lot of stuff going on the past week, like extracurricular stuff, the sports banquet or whatever. And did y'all have a dance? A bunch of kids had a dance.
That was 6th grade.
And 9th and 10th. But y'all, do y'all have one in December?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Anyway, guys, this is my dad, Cicero, and he comes up a lot when you're learning Latin. You talk about this guy a lot because his texts, his writings, are one of the primary kind of learning tools that Latin students use for literally since he wrote things down 2,000 years ago. But especially since Renaissance times when or Western European people put a spotlight on learning Latin and teaching Latin in schools. Cicero's been kind of the go-to guy in terms of having students translate actual Latin that was written down. A lot of the Latin we do up until, most of the textbook, it's something a textbook writer wrote down, and they try to have the style of a writer like Cicero, but it is technically something like a living person or a person from the past 60 years wrote. We sometimes do Sententiae Antiquae, which those are adapted from people like Cicero. But as we get further through the textbook, we'll do more and more translations where it's translating actual writers from the time, whether it's poets like Catullus, Ovid, and Virgil, or if it's nonfiction writers, is how we would describe them nowadays, like Cicero and Julius Caesar. My 9th graders do a lot of Cicero. They have a love-hate relationship with his writing. And they also do Julius Caesar, because Julius Caesar wrote about his time killing thousands of French people for 10 years. It's called the Gallic War. So Cicero and Julius Caesar's Gallic War are kind of the two big bodies of work, of writing, that students tend to learn Latin with. And then a little bit of Catullus poetry. We looked at Catullus last year. We might look at him again soon because he's kind of funny and weird. But anyway, what's up with Marcus Tullius Cicero? He's from this place called Arpinum, which is to the south of Rome. It's kind of covered up. There it is. Okay. And he's born 6 years before Julius Caesar. So Julius Caesar gets to be born on year 100 BCE, which is kind of crazy. So that's exactly 2,080 years ago, 60, 100, I don't know. I can't do that kind of. But Cicero is just 6 years older than him. He's born in this place called Arpinum. So a lot of people that become famous Romans, they're not born in the city of Rome, right? Rome spreads across a lot of Eurasia, but that takes a little while for that to happen. And a lot of the people really care about, this guy in Virgil who wrote Aeneid a little bit after the time he was alive. They're from really small towns in Italy, or northern Italy or southern Italy. In this case, southern Italy. And they're not they don't grow up in Rome necessarily. But he studied philosophy and rhetoric, especially. Do you even know what rhetoric is? What does that mean? You probably heard the word rhetorical question. Does anybody know what people mean by that? Sometimes you answer a question and someone's like, that was a rhetorical question. You didn't need to answer it. Nathan? That's what it means in the context of a question. But rhetoric is about like speaking in a way that is very convincing to people and that changes people's minds. So it's something that you study if you're a lawyer, if you're a politician, if you're doing anything that involves public speaking. And it was a really big deal for the Greco-Roman world. I guess it makes sense because they didn't really have like media in the way we do. They didn't have like newspapers and stuff. So if you wanted to be a well-spoken person and like reach a lot of people, you had to learn to like speak well and put words together in a way that convinced people. And he does go on to become a lawyer, so that was going to be important for him. He's a lawyer and then a politician, so he definitely needed rhetoric, which is just the arts of like talking, basically. And Greece made it a really big deal, and they would like study Homer to see the way that Homer wrote poetry that convinced people of like Achilles being super powerful and stuff, and they would try to apply it to making like political arguments or defending criminals in court. He goes to Greece like every good young Roman man would do to get some learning. At this point in the Roman Republic, and this is the Republic, this is pre-Empire. Julius Caesar has not been stabbed, and we have not gotten to the Augustus, first emperor of Rome Empire period. But and this is very traditional that you go to Greece to study when you're like a teenager or like you're a young adult. In the same way that some people go like study abroad in their early 20s or like during college. And that's what he did because Greece was known for its like rhetorical teaching and philosophy as well. And so Cicero would study that. And also when he was a teenager or a young man, he fought in something called the Social War. It's kind of boring, we'll gloss over it. But this is weird because, so bellum is war, and then means ally. Socius means ally, so this is the war of the allies. Because Italy at this point was still not even totally unified. Or it like briefly was, but then certain parts of Italy got mad at Rome because they felt like they weren't given citizenship, and there was other conflicts, and so Rome fought with Rome, which is a big theme, right? Romulus kills Remus. There's kings killing kings during the Kingdom era. And then this is kind of the start of a series of civil wars that'll keep cropping up until the Roman Empire, basically, which rises out of the ashes of a bad civil war between Augustus and Mark Antony. But anyway, Cicero did stuff in this. And then after this, he takes on his first public case as a lawyer, defending this guy against accusations that he killed his dad. And Cicero wins because the guy was being falsely accused. And so Cicero, in a way, like lawyers back then almost like had to do detective work or something. Like they had to kind of prove some case they were trying to make and present to people. And so quickly after this, Cicero goes on to be a very successful lawyer, and he eventually transitions into the political realm and becomes a political guy. This is Demosthenes. He was a Greek orator from hundreds of years before Cicero. Apparently, he had a speech impediment when he was a kid, but he wanted to be a good rhetorician. So he would stuff his mouth with rocks and try to talk through all of the pebbles in his mouth until he like learned how to talk really eloquently, even when his mouth was full of rocks. So Greek people are crazy, but apparently it worked. But Cicero kind of took on this what's the word? Reputation as being the Roman Demosthenes. Because he was just really well spoken, he was very convincing, and he seemed to be a bit of a prodigy as far as public speaking went. Marcus Tullius Cicero says, a room without books is like a body without a soul. If you are a garden and a library, you have if you have a garden, you have everything you need. When he says garden there, he's probably talking about the peristylum we've talked about, that courtyard area of a Roman household. Get a little fresh air, get a little sunlight, get a little reading done. Cicero was a bookworm. 6 mistakes mankind keeps making century after century. 1, believing that personal gain is made by crushing others. 2, worrying about things that cannot be changed or corrected. 3, insisting that a thing is impossible because we cannot accomplish it. 4, refusing to set aside trivial preferences. 5, neglecting development and refinement of the mind. And 6, attempting to compel others to believe and live as we do. Which that's an interesting one for a lawyer to say. Attempting to convince. He's saying this is bad to try to convince people to do and live as you say. So he was self-aware that rhetoric had a limit. And by the way, like the reason we call it a rhetorical question, that doesn't it implies that it's not a question you have to answer, but it's because people ask these questions to make a point rhetorically, not because they actually want an answer. Can anybody think of a good rhetorical question off the top of their head? Yeah.
Guess what happened? They're not actually asking you to guess.
That's true. Yeah, yeah. I don't think we would normally think of that, but like you're right. Like when people are like, "Guess what happened?" We don't actually expect the person to be like, maybe I don't know. You woke up today and then you came to work. It's like, no, I didn't actually mean that you needed to guess what happened. That's just like a way we talk. What's another one? It'd be something like, maybe I'll think of one eventually. It's first period, you know. Okay. By the way, his cognomen, which we could talk about this real quick, and then we're almost going to get to our translation. But the Roman name was kind of interesting in that we call this a praenomen, the first one, Marcus. The middle one, just the nomen, and this last one, the cognomen. So the praenomen is actually kind of like their middle name in terms of the way we think about middle names, and that it's kind of like not super important. It might be some kind of, it's not really a family name even. It's just unimportant in a way that, like, some people probably like their middle names or like choose to use their middle names as the first. But we often go through life without like knowing people's middle names because they're like not very important. Romans did know people's praenomen, but it was like the least important part of the name is what I'm trying to say. Whereas the middle name, the nomen, that was kind of like their first name. Their last name, and then yeah. So this is confusing. So first one is middle. This one is last, basically, in terms of like how we think about our names. And this last one would be more like the first name. And we call that the cognomen, which is kind of like a nickname. And his cognomen, we're not totally sure, but it might mean chickpea. Does anybody have Lebanese food? Like Lebanese food? Greek food, Mediterranean?
You see, if you would have
Huh?
you see, it's kind of like professional papers.
Yeah, no, yeah, oh, that's true.
Like
Well,
papers that are typed up.
in MLA, we definitely put or is it MLA? Oh, the page heading, we put last name first. The middle name, or like the least important one going first, I think that's the weirdest thing about their names. Also, what was it? So women don't have, it's a praenomen, I think. Women don't have a praenomen in Rome. I don't know why. It's weird, but women would just have two names, except for very rare instances. But men would all have these three, but this one was all just kind of, it was like, it didn't matter. Gaius was a very common one. Gaius and Caius were basically like Bob or John or something. Sorry, John. It's a kind of common name, I guess. It's a good one, though. It's a good one. Okay, anyway, a little more about chickpea. He runs for consul. What's a consul again, anyone? It's been a while since we checked in on, like, kind of Roman life. Carson?
It's like a leader who is elected by people. It's kind of like, I don't know, there's two instead of one.
Right, there's two instead of one, and it's an elected leader. This is a pretty cool, impressive thing that Rome was doing 2,000 years ago. They were electing their leaders. Every citizen in Rome, not including the slaves, would get to elect leaders. And I guess that implies women, too. I've never actually thought about that. I think Athenian women further back couldn't vote, which is lame. But weird. I need to look that up, like, for real. What? Yep. Roman women. So, I'll get back to you guys on if Roman women enjoyed the right to vote. But this is something that went on throughout the Republic. It became less important under the Empire, but we still had consuls at that point. Final warning for a couple people who have been talking through a lot of this class before I move you. But anyway, he gets elected as senator. And at the same time he's elected, this guy, my great-great-great-grandfather Catiline, is running against him, promising every poor person in Rome that he's going to cancel their debt. He's going to just wipe the record of all of their debt. And he says that things need to change, and a lot of people are really riled up for Catiline. And Cicero's like, no, things don't need to change. Like the old way of doing things is the good way. Just to stay on course doing that. And Catiline is he's very riled up, and he's very, what's the word, gregarious and charismatic. And he gets a lot of people who are really into his cause, But it turns out that he's conspiring with a couple of senators to burn down all of Rome, and he's got an army stationed outside of Rome, ready to attack Rome and like kill senators. So Cicero finds out about this. Catiline sends some people to Cicero's house to kill him one day. Cicero like intercepts a letter and like knows this is happening and has some bodyguards staying outside of the house. Then that's for that same day or the next day, he goes into the Senate to tell the Senate, like, hey guys, what's up? My political opponent here, Catiline, who I can't believe actually showed up to the Senate meeting after he tried to kill me, is trying to kill me and burn down Rome. And Catiline sits here in shame, and all the other senators kind of get up slowly throughout this meeting and kind of walk away from Catiline, rather. And this is a speech that we study to this day. Cicero had a scribe who would write down all of his speeches, and the In Catilinam speeches would be against Catiline. They're like something that lawyers and rhetorical interested people have been studying for like hundreds and hundreds of years. And unfortunately, my ninth graders have had to translate like a lot of it. But Catiline leaves that day and he meets up with his army. Cicero has the senators who were conspiring with Catiline hanged, executed a little too hastily, maybe. He probably should have like gone through more channels in terms of like, they had like a judicial system that resembles our own. But Cicero's like, no, we got to kill those guys. And now let's send an army to go fight Catiline's army. And Catiline had like thousands of supporters who were like, no, this guy's awesome. He like talks. He's really good at talking. And he told us he would make our debt and our money problems go away. But Catiline's army unfortunately loses and Catiline dies. And Cicero like gets a lot of fame for this. Like that's kind of his like defining moment. Catiline is the Joker to Cicero's Batman. If it weren't for Catiline, we probably wouldn't, or at least Rome wouldn't have thought so highly of Cicero. But a political friend of Julius Caesar doesn't like Cicero, and we think that Julius Caesar actually was kind of buddies with Catiline, but just like somehow didn't leave enough of a breadcrumb trail to get caught. Because Julius Caesar, he's doing things right now at the same time too. He hasn't gone to France yet and conquered all of France, but Julius Caesar is a few years away from being consul himself, a very corrupt consul who then goes off to France and conquers all of France for a decade. But anyway, Julius Caesar has his friend put Cicero on trial for killing Catiline's like conspirators too quickly. Like he just did it too quickly. Like they should have had these like more like drawn out trials. And so Cicero gets exiled. So it's like night and day. Like one year he's like the hero of the Roman people, and the next he's being like kicked out of Rome literally. He eventually comes back and he's like forgiven. And then a lot of crazy things happen, like Julius Caesar comes back from France and goes to war with Rome, basically. Cicero sides with Pompey. That was the guy that when Julius Caesar marches on Rome, they have to choose to either just be like, yep, we're going to, with Caesar all the way, little Caesar. Or they're like, oh, this Pompey guy who's like a really, really good general who basically killed like every single pirate in the Mediterranean and put down the Spartacus slave rebellion. They have to choose between these two guys. And Cicero chooses this guy, and this guy ends up losing. He fights Julius Caesar in Greece and loses. He gets away, goes to Egypt to ask Cleopatra's brother for help, and Cleopatra's brother promptly cuts his head off. And then so Julius Caesar is the last man standing. But Julius Caesar was really good at granting people clemency, meaning like mercy. So he let Cicero live. He wasn't going to kill Cicero just because for a little while he sided with poor Pompey here. But anyway, Cicero we're almost done talking about him. He's not involved in the plot to kill Julius Caesar, because that happens about 5 years later. After all the craziness with Julius Caesar going to war with Rome and getting Pompey killed and meeting up with Cleopatra and having like a romance with Cleopatra, even though he's like married to Calpurnia. All of that happens 4 years later, Caitlin, final warning. Lost my train of thought, but he's not involved as far as we know. I think the senators were kind of like, oh, he's an old windbag of a politician at this point, is what the senators probably thought. They're probably like, he's not cool enough to like hang out with us and stab Julius Caesar 23 times. So they didn't tell him about it. Now, would Cicero have done it? I don't think so. Cicero is kind of like a goody two-shoes in a way, which you just got to know he was really upset by that whole exile thing that happened. Because he really played by the books. He really believed in old school Roman virtues. like decency and honesty and the law. So I do not think he would have participated in the old stabby. But anyway, after this happens, we have Augustus, the godson of Julius Caesar, at that time Octavian, and Mark Antony, Julius Caesar's old top soldier. They try to fill that power vacuum, and they kind of go between being friends and being enemies. Cicero hates Mark Antony, and I do too. So what Mark Antony does is he prescribes Cicero, and Cicero is executed because he is basically putting out writing and disseminating writing, denouncing Mark Antony and saying, hey, Mark Antony's really bad. Cicero seemed to be okay with Augustus, but he didn't like Mark Antony, and Mark Antony proved that he is someone not to be liked because he has poor Cicero, he has the old executioner treatment done to him. So this is what a Cicero quote, apparently. There's nothing proper about what you are doing. He's talking about Mark Antony killing him just because Cicero doesn't like Mark Antony and is telling people about it. But do try to kill me properly, apparently is what Cicero said. So Julius Caesar has et tu, Brute, and you, Brutus. But Cicero just kind of has some sass right there at the end. All right, who wants to read Cicero's feelings about Bellum, about war? Caitlin, go ahead.
Okay.
So again, I'm sorry, Chicken Boy is wait, who's a ninja, by the way? No one commented, but he's November Ninja Chicken Boy. He already has some words offered for us. Now you don't need this one or this one actually, but if you don't know what era, like that's a word you can use. But they're gonna gloss some words for us that we don't have vocabulary-wise. You don't need to write those on your sheet, and unless you like see a word that you're like, oh, that's such a cool word, I just gotta write it down, even though we don't actually have it. Anyway, sorry, Caitlin, go ahead. Very good. Caitlin, can you see anything that like jumps out to you as a subject?
Do you remember it's in bold?
No, I'm bolding all the verbs actually. I'm bolding a lot, or like some of the verbs.
Would it be Kiwitas?
It is Kiwitas, yeah. So Kiwitas is my least favorite third declension noun we have, along with I guess Libertas now, because they both have this AS ending that we associated with like first declension accusative plural. Like we were hopefully getting very used to that being a direct object ending in the first declension. But we know third declension, the nominative, can end any way it wants to. So we have a whole family of feminine third declension nouns that end in AS, and they're bad. They're bad. Outside of the nominative, they're kind of fine, like Kiwitas, Kiwitatis. So it has like the normal third declension endings after that. But boy, I don't like those nominatives. But yeah, so that's going to be what, Caitlin? What does Kiwitas mean?
City or state?
Yeah, let's still go with state. So city would be more like urbis. We get urban from it. And a town would be oppidum. Kiwitas is more like state, like a more generalized part of like a nation. Or citizenship, which that's kind of like a different thing altogether too. That's kind of like talking about the people of a state broadly. So the state, and then we see Bellum. What's going on with Bellum, anyone? What case do y'all think Bellum is? It could be nominative, right? It comes from bellum, belly. It's a neuter nominative word. But that would be weird for like two nominatives to be right next to each other. So what else could it be, Soraya? Good, yeah, exactly. So that's a trick we should be getting used to with neuter nouns. It's a neuter second declension. This is how third declension neuters are too. And really all plural third declensions are this way, where their direct object form is the same as their subject form. And we have to use context clues to be like, okay, that's not the subject form, that's the direct object form. Because like that wouldn't make any sense. We wouldn't have two nouns right next to each other doing the same thing. That would just be kind of weird. It'd be like the citizenship, comma, the war, right? But bellum means war, but we're not gonna like, we wouldn't translate it immediately. Sine causa. We're gonna translate causa as cause. Go figure. So sine causa. Who can tell me what that's gonna mean? Yes, exactly, Devin. Good. The citizenship, and let's like skip bellum, without cause. What kind of cause, Devin? Bonus. Yeah, good cause. Without good cause. Very good. What case, Ava, are causa bona? Ablative, yeah, they're ablative for sure. They have the matron A's, so those would be a prepositional phrase. Oh yeah, and so okay, all right, that's how I made the slide. This is me saying like, is it a direct object or a subject? It doesn't make sense for it to be a subject. It's a direct object. Then we have a prepositional phrase. Out is just or. That should be glossed for you. All your glossed words are at the. Actually, I think they're at the top of the next page. What it means or propter eron. What is propter eron? So we got some words accumulating here. You don't need out, but these two, if you don't need know these two, those would go in your sheet. Caleb? Good, very good. Yeah, because of or on account of anger. And so we're all writing this translation as well as vocab words you don't know. Is there anyone other than Macy that has a cool dedicated vocabulary thing? Sorry, nice. But you're still using that. That's cool. That's cool. But yeah, we are writing the translation. So don't forget to actually write this translation out on the pad. Okay. So the state without good cause or on account of anger, and then Gerera means apparently. Oh no, we do have Gerera. Okay. So if you don't know that, that can go on your sheet. That's going to be on the quiz on Friday. I forgot. We did. Yeah, we did. We did. Okay. Okay. It means to carry out or to wage. So non-debet Gerera. Does anybody want to impress me a lot by translating those last three words? What is the state going to do? Debet non-Gerera. What's that going to be? Kaylin? Close. Not just like to not. You're kind of missing the debeo. Remember debeo, like, apparently it can mean O. I don't think we've ever seen it as meaning O. Natalie, what would it mean here? Yeah, exactly, right? Should. So every time we see debeo, it's getting an infinitive buddy. And that's what it's getting here, so it should not. You're missing a should, Kaylin. But yeah, we don't see debeo a whole lot. But debeo, possum, and audeo take infinitive buddies. Meaning, like, if it's possum, it's like cannot wage. If it was audeo, like dares to wage. But this is debeo, so it's should not wage. Or if you want to sound a little old-timey, you can say ought not to wage. So, okay, now we're ready for our direct object, that second word that we didn't really know what to do with. We finally got to the predicate at the end. You can put it all together. Does anybody want to say this whole thing all together? Eron, by the way, was an accusative object of propter. Remember, it's not a huge deal, but propter takes an accusative object. So it's red, but it's not a direct object red. It's an accusative prepositional phrase red. Anyone at all? Devin?
No.
Oh. No? Natalie?
The state without good cause or because of anger should not be.
Perfect, yeah. So guys, eyes up here so I can show, and I'm sorry, e-learning, you're going to kind of miss this, but I'm pointing the words, I guess like no, that's not going to help. Anyway, I can try it, but you're not going to be able to tell. But yeah, look up here real quick, because like this is a very typical syntax. The state, eyes up here, should not wage war without good cause or on account of anger. The point I'm making is that we go from the subject to the predicate, and then we have to go back up to the direct object. It's very typical. I'm going to stop droning on about this in January probably, but we need to have mastered that kind of like slight syntactical twist to really get used to Latin. That's not like what every Latin sentence does. Once you get deeper into Latin, you realize like there kind of is no set way to order words in Latin. But the reason I think the textbook really stresses this subject, direct object, verb, word order is so that you understand how important it is to eventually just get an instinctual grasp of case endings. Because when I read Latin, I do go left to right. I can just kind of go left to right and suspend some things in my mind. I would just be kind of like, okay, the state, something about a war without good cause or on account of anger, they should not wage. Okay, they shouldn't wage the war. And that works once you're used to it. But it takes getting used to. All right. I'm sure that did not translate to oh, nice. Good job, Ella. And remember, Ella, I wish there was like a hand raising thing. I think there is, but even if she did it, maybe I wouldn't see it. I guess maybe y'all could tell me if like I missed it. But anyway, you can always speak up, or if there is a hand raising thing, you can do that too. But good job. All right, so that's a translation. This is the actual direct object. This is a prep phrase. And again, prop here takes an accusative direct object. I like to use the word predicate when the verbal part of the sentence is more than one word. And that's what it is here. We have an adverb and an infinitive. So it's kind of like a 3-part verb. So using the fancy schmancy word predicate feels proper here. Who can read? Number 2. Carson.
Fortunas et agros officiasque populi nostri sine fellow defendere audiens.
Good. And so actually this like runs on into what I'm saying is number 3. But just we've done this before. This is actually like a flowing thought. It's like one paragraph. But I broke it up into sentences. All right, this isn't too bad. But I'm seeing more of what we kind of were just dealing with. We already have some glassed words. Fortunas, we all know that. I don't know why I typed that. But defendo, it means defend. Go figure. Wow, huh? So what's the case of Fortunas and agros? Because I know we know what et means. Jake, what case do you think Fortunas and agros are? They're not what we as English speakers want them to be.
Then
What are you using now? I don't know if we're seeing much outside of the present tense. Oh, well, we're kind of about to.
forget the name, but the name really goes right.
No, it's the one I really like. It's my favorito. Dorito. John? Yeah, these are accusatives. So, because like I was just talking about how I hate Kiwi toss because it looks like it's old school first declension accusative direct object, but it's just a wacky third declension along with libertas. But this, Fortuna, that is first declension. And so it's showing up as its direct object form, whereas agros, that's the masculine accusative plural. So first declension feminine accusative plural is AS. Masculine is OS. That's what we see right here, right? AS and OS. And number 3 is ES. I love the accusative. I love the accusative. So those are direct objects. And we don't know what to do with them yet. We don't know. We just really don't know. Why did I do... What does this mean, guys? Am I making that I blue in the verb? For one, it's kind of weird. I'm skipping all the way to the end, but I guess I have my reasons. But what would that mean? No, Aiden. I do, but so populus is a verb. It's a possum verb. I use light blue to indicate a certain tense. Kayla?
Is this Smurf?
Good guess. Neelis?
Smurf.
It's future tense, yeah. So I need to add this to my little color code word. My color coding thing down here. These are all just for like nouns having colors. But at some point this year, I decided without pretty much thought that I use red sometimes to indicate that a verb is imperfect, and I use this light blue to indicate that it is future, which is okay because we don't see that many indirect objects, so it doesn't like overlap with that. But red for imperfect verbs is not amazing. But it kind of just like, hopefully you know that you're looking at a verb there. So this is future. Now what person and number it be? What person and number, Nathan? Is it first, second, or third person? Not third singular. A lot of people get this ending mixed up with third. I think not because they're thinking of OST must tis int, but because they're thinking of a lot of people, which that's on the right track. This is telling us something about a plurality of people. So it's not third plural. OSD must have sent, right? So Riley, is it first, second, or third person? Singular or plural?
Oh, it's
I did cover up the verb chart, but
first person.
exactly, it's first person plural. Very good. So, Richard, what is the subject of the sentence? If the verb is first plural, are we going to use the pronoun I, you, it, we, all, they? Should we be looking for not it's first plural though? Oh, we, exactly. So hopefully you all can run that same little thing in your mind where you're just like, okay, OST must is int, singular, plural, I, you, it, we, y'all, they. If you can't do that, then like come to me an essay today, right? We don't have to do like a whole tutoring thing. But let's like talk about verb endings, just like basic verb. I'm not even talking about present or future and perfect tense. We just need you to know OST, must, is, int, I, you, it, we, all, they. That's something we gotta have by now. So anyway, the subject is we. It's buried in the ending of the verb. So if we, right? Because C is if. You don't have C as if, you're writing it down in your vocab refresher sheet. Who already has 3 words written down in their vocab refresher sheet? Okay. If you don't have at least 2 by now, then you're either like a vocabulary genius, which like some of you are. Some of y'all might have like a knack for vocabulary where you're just like, I've known all the words that we've seen, except the ones like defendo, which I don't apparently need to know. What, Maddie?
I didn't get a thing. No one gave me one.
Sweet. Okay, Maddie has like 5-ish written down. That's amazing. That's amazing.
No, but Laura didn't get one.
Oh, is that? Oh,
Because
Laura.
nobody gave me one.
I thought it was like under your thing.
I got like 2 apples. I don't need one.
Also, guys, this even gives you an excuse to do a little light, small, miniature doodling. And then this column over here. I know there's like no space, but you can like, if it would help you remember, like draw a little, I don't know, draw a little picture. Draw a little Pikachu or something. Again, Ella and e-learners, I will upload this by tomorrow. But it's like, you've seen the refresher sheets. It's literally just, well, let me show you real quick.
No, I didn't. He punched me in the back.
It's just this, you know, you don't really need this yourself. I will put it on the notebook page, but it's just a glorified series of lines. Yep. Okay. And I just noticed these have the nifty little verb ending thing at the end. So if you're like, you know what, I just heard Mr. Catalanello say that if I don't know OST, must just sent 1, 2, 3, I, you, we, I, you, it, we, all, they, or whatever. If you're like, I heard him say that, and because we just had a 5-day break, and I'm like fresh, I'm like inspired to finally just know that. I'm gonna write it down. Write it down at the bottom of your thing. I would count that maybe as a bonus point for your little passwords grade when I pick this up. All right, guys, chill out. We just got a little bit more. So we're stalled out on the sentence. If we will, what does possum actually mean? We're just getting the we and the will from the fact that it's first plural and it's future. But possum means what, Grace? But it's future, so it's like if we will be able to. Yep. So if we will be able to, and I want to go back to fortune. I know I'm doing something with fortune soon, but I'm still not ready. Possum means a verb friend. What is the verb friend, Miss Dugan? What is the verb friend that we're going to be able to do? If we will be able to what? To often, not always, this verb friend is like near the possum. Near the possum. It's a verb that you guys would be able to translate even if I didn't tell you what it meant. You gotta love that. At least like what, a fifth of Latin words. You can just guess. What is it, Maddie? Defend. And so y'all need to chill. There's a lot of like whispery chaos here. So if we will not be able to defend, good. And now we're ready for the direct objects. If we will not be able to defend fortune and this looks accusative too. Agros. What is agros? What is agros, Kylie? They're all those. No, you think of era. It does kind of look like anger. But all of these out here, I would describe these as rolling blanks of way. Danny? Yeah, field. Okay, never mind. If we will be able to defend wealth and the fields and what the heck's going on here? What word is this, anyone? Batasque? What is that? Loud and hard. Carson? Stop talking over here. What?
I think it's light, but it could also be like criminal or something.
No, it is life. Yeah, you're right. It would be like crimes or something. It was like Bitia. And then what is the qued doing, Ava? Right. So it's like fields and lives. So he uses at once, but then he uses the que suffix, which again, you see that que suffix, don't let it make you think that you're looking at like a totally different word. You want to kind of separate it mentally and be like, oh, that's just vitas. That's lives. That is also accusative. And it's first declension. and we always like vitamin and vitality from it. All the whispering conversations. Well, come on, guys, you're back in school now. You're gonna kind of focus, right, Caden? It's all about self-control. You wild out at 3:30 and lunchtime and PE. That's when you're allowed to wild out. If we will be able to defend fortune and the farms and lives, popularly no street. How is that going to enter into the picture? Caitlin, stop. I don't whisper, hiss at people. It's like a hissy. That means and lives. And lives. Yeah. So do you understand that, Danny? Because we've only seen this this is probably the fourth time we've seen this, where the quaff, it's at the end of a noun, and it just translates to, it is the equivalent of an X occurring in front of the word it's attached to. So it's fields and lives, but he's achieving the and via the quaff suffix. Popularly no street. What's that going to be? I bet a lot of people don't know no stare, and you're going to write it down on your refresher sheet. Now you're going to know it forever, because writing things down is shown to improve the chances of something sticking in your hippocampus for longer than you would like. Nice. So people are up to 6. Natalie, say it again. Our people, in what case is it? How do we actually get it into the translation if it means our people? Because we don't want it to say defend fortune and the farms and lives. It's not like and our people. It's not like another direct object. Like we had 3 direct objects here. So what was it, Devin and Ava at the same time? Because y'all think it's what case? Good. Yeah, it's genitive. So it's going to be the fortune and the farm and the lives of our people. Of our people. Sine bello. So those are first declension genitives. Sine bello. Sine bello. Ava? Yeah, without war. If we can defend our wealth and our fields and our lives of our people without war, that is an Adler prep phrase. Then what? I don't know why I put a period in the translation because we don't actually have one. We have a comma. Let's do this one. It'll probably be done for the day. Then, Pacem conservare debemos. As I think I swallowed a feather. This has never happened to me. I only put my mask in my car, but there was maybe it was just a little bit of fabric or something, and I just swallowed it. Okay. It's never happened to me. I don't know. It felt like a little just like a nothing, like a lint, like a little thing of lint. Oh. Okay. It doesn't make sense for it to be a feather, but for some reason it felt like. Okay, then. Does anybody? So guys, stop me if you're like, oh, you know what? I didn't write down no stare. Because I should write no stare right now. A lot of kids don't know it. It's a boring adjective. I'll admit it is a very unexciting adjective here. It's no stare. No street. Oh, y'all know there's Chick-fil-A in the teacher's lounge right now. I don't know why I just thought of that, but that's good. That's awesome. That's where the feather goes. All right, guys. So that might be who's writing down no stare because I don't know that word. That's boring. It's a boring word. I do not know it. Okay, yeah, Macy has, and this is how mnemonics are. They're very, what's the word? They're very kind of they're just random. But she said, no, sir, those are our chicken nuggets. As though someone said, are those my chicken nuggets? And she's with a group of friends that are all having chicken nuggets, hopefully from Chick-fil-A. He says, no, sir, they're ours. So that is a perfect mnemonic in that it almost doesn't make sense while also being kind of functional. We are not hanging out in our living room right now, Laura. Please put your feet on the ground and stop harassing my. Okay. So,
What did the monster do to you?
It's still in my trachea. It's not. Okay. If we will be able to defend fortune and the farms and lives of our people without war, then what? Then what? Ava, stop talking. Ava? Then we should conserve peace. Awesome. If you're like, how did Ava do that? That's hard. That's what practicing does. That's what putting time into your homework does. and come to SA, come to tutoring, do what you need to do. But she sees peace as a direct object, and this is we should conserve peace. So it's very much kind of like for us, it feels like a right to left thing. All right, guys, good first day back. Have a good rest of your first day back. Don't swallow lint, and see you tomorrow.
Hi, Mr. Kyle Mello.